Hi guys, Colin from BashBackPain.com here, another video for you today. So, big question, how long does it actually take for a herniated bulging disc to heal? Very common question. I asked myself this when I had my herniation bulging disc back in the day. And we're trying to answer that for you guys today, okay? Now listen folks, before we start, if you do enjoy my content, you want to be updated when I do put something new on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, okay? Let me help you. All right guys, much appreciated if you can do that for me. All right, so how long does it take for herniated disc, bulging disc to heal? So I asked myself that same question, okay? Because when I had my herniation disc bulge, I didn't know. Right at that time, I did not know. I was fearful. I was in pain. Would I be able to lift weights again? Mountain bike, play golf, do all my activities. And I know a lot of you guys, you may just been diagnosed with a herniated disc, bulging disc, and you're the same, right? Maybe you're an athlete. Maybe you've got your family. You have to play with the kids, pick up the kids. Can you do it again? It's a horrible place to be, and I know, I've been there. And sometimes even when you start, maybe you're just beginning a rehabilitation program and you don't seem to feel any better and you start doubting, like, is the process even worth it? Am I going to get there? Like, how long is this going to take? Yeah. So guys, I'm going to try to answer that for you today, okay? So I like to break it into three main areas that influence recovery time. Now, number one, I would say, is health factors. Number one, health factors. And I'm going to break these down even further, okay? Number two, I would say, is the state of the disc, okay? So the degree of the disc injury itself. And number three, I would say, is the treatment plan, okay? So those are my three main areas which will affect the recovery time of the disc. So let's break them down a little bit more. So what do I mean by health factors? Okay, so health factors would be things like your current age, okay? It's quite common knowledge that, a young 16, 17, 18-year-old, his body will generally heal faster than someone who is 70 or 80 years old, okay? It's just a physiological sort of system that happens in the body when we get older. Things take longer to get better, okay? It's not to say they won't get better, but it just will take longer. Now, another health factor would be, for example, smoking, if you're a non-smoker or a smoker. Again, they've done the research. Smokers, they tend to heal slower from injuries, okay? They have sort of not so good blood supply, issues with the nerves sometimes. They can actually dehydrate the disc itself, your disc in your back. So smoking is not good for recovery. Again, it can be done, but it's going to take that person longer, okay? So if you do want to improve your chances and you are a smoker, try to reduce or give up smoking for this recovery time, okay? Another health factor, of course, is your present state. So like your weight, okay? Now, again, they've looked at studies. If you are heavily overweight, you're quite obese, you're carrying a lot of body fat, then of course there is more stress, more physical stress on your spine. If you're stressing that disc more unnecessarily, it's going to take longer to heal, right? If you've got this load, this weight is non-functional. What I mean by non-functional is you're carrying excess body fat, not just muscle. Muscle can help us, protect the spine. It can stabilize the spine. So again, if you are, heavily overweight, I would suggest trying to lose a few pounds. Your back will feel the benefit of that. Okay, your recovery period will be shorter normally. Other health factors, of course, is your diet, nutrition. You want to make sure you're not just eating pizza and beer, right? You want to get lots of your minerals and vitamins in there because that's going to help the disc recover, help the tissues recover in your body. So health factors, that covers many different aspects. I wouldn't say there's one particular one which is the overall winner, okay? But you got to try to make sure some of those things like your diet, not smoking, are in check, okay? Number two would be the state of the disc. Now, how do I mean by that? I mean basically the degree. It's the degree of the injury. So if you've got, if we say this is your disc, there's a picture going to flash up on the screen here. You'll see the different stages of disc injuries. This disc bulging, prolapse disc herniation, even something called disc sequestration. And researchers across UK, Japan, USA, there have been many different studies. They have found that when the disc is more herniated, the degree is larger, there's more tissue material from the disc itself, the nucleus pulposus, has pushed out, okay? They find that the speed of reabsorption reabsorbs back into the disc space is faster in those with a greater disc herniation from the outset. Now, I've got a separate blog post on that. It's going to flash up at the bottom where I go into the real physiology of why that actually happens. But very briefly, there's many theories, but one of which, or I'll talk on two briefly. One of those two is to do with the anti-inflammatory response of the body. If there's a large injury occurs, a large herniation, then the anti-inflammatory response of the body is greater. Okay, so the response is like, I've got to get rid of this inflammation, this inflammatory material, and the disc reabsorbs quicker. Another theory, hypothesis, is more to do with the ligaments. So if my finger is the disc, and this is a ligament here, and the disc material bulges out and pushes on that finger. Now imagine this ligament here is like, which they are, they're like elastic bands, okay? If it's just a small bulge, and it's touching a little bit here, okay, and it will push back. There's not so much resistance on this elastic band, it's going to push back slowly, okay? If I've pushed that elastic band really far, okay, the return energy is really greater and faster. So that's another theory. They reckon that potentially these larger disc herniations will actually reduce the time of the disc reabsorbing. I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but that's what the literature says, okay? So the state of the disc can have a big influence on when you will be, how long it will take for you to recover. Now, number 3 on that list, I would say, is the treatment plan. Now, treatment plan, you have to understand that you can be going to your physiotherapy, there's different modalities, physiotherapy, osteopathy, chiropractic, even yoga, okay? Whatever one you choose to do, you got to make sure that it takes into account your lifestyle factors, right? Because for many of us, a disc herniation, bulging disc, unless you're in a car crash and you fell off, a high building perhaps and landed and hurt yourself badly that way, most injuries occur through a cumulative load. So it's been something we've done incorrectly for many years. It's built up over time, and we do one little thing and we get the disc herniation, okay? For us to correct that takes time, right? And if we're going 2-3 times a week to physiotherapy, but we're doing incorrect things out of that physiotherapy, we're not going to readjust and change our bad habits. We need to change what happens in our daily life, okay, how we move, how we pick up things, and basically not regress into those bad habits. So you've got to make sure the program that you choose does take into account what I call the lifestyle behavior factors. And I'm really big on that. I've got my own course, it's a rehabilitation video course, and that's my underpins my course, is that methodology that you've got to put in place this behavioral change first, okay, with how people move, how they learn to brace, and that's your foundation, and then you build the recovery on top of that. This course is going to pop up down below there. It's www.bashbackpain.com/course. Go and check it out when you've got a minute after this video. Now, when it comes to the rehabilitation modality itself, you want to make sure that the instructor, the person you're dealing with, understands how to work with herniated discs, bulging discs, okay? So yoga, I like yoga, yoga's great, okay? But there are certain movements in yoga which can affect and hurt somebody who does have a herniated bulging disc. So if you choose that modality, that way of rehabilitating yourself, you want to make sure you make the instructor aware of how to deal with herniated discs, okay? Because you don't want to be getting worse with the treatment, right? So make sure you talk to the person, and make sure they've got a good understanding. They've worked with people like you before in the past, and they know how to handle your progression. Now, the other thing is actually coming on from that is the rate of progression, because when you start out, you might have great success. I'm feeling great, I'm feeling better, right? You go back in the gym, or you go back on the tennis court, or the golf course, whatever, and you reach for the driver, right? You're going to do a big overhead smash, whatever, and you do too much too soon, all right? Now, I know what this was like myself when I was first diagnosed. It was a bulging disc and also a small herniation. Started doing my rehab, I was feeling great. I stupidly went under the bar to do some squats, and I can't remember what set it was on, how many reps I'd done, but it was at the bottom, and I was like, oh, and it was this sharp stabbing pain just coming out this bottom of my spine, kind of into my buttock, and I'm like, oh, I'm stopping now. I stopped, and the next day I was in absolute agony. It was, I had regressed significantly. Went back to see my doctor, we got another MRI, and of course my herniation was greater. Okay, I'd basically, done more damage to the disc. So you've got to make sure that how you're progressing, it's got to be enough. You've got to have enough stimulus. I'll be honest with you, if you're doing something twice a week, yes, you will get some benefits, but it's going to take a long time, okay? Minimum should be 3 times a week with daily behavioral homework that you're doing from your physiotherapist or your osteopath, whatever, behavioral changes, right? If you're just going once a week, it's not enough. It's not enough, okay? You've got to be doing enough. But you've got to make sure that it's measured progress. So again, your instructor should be doing some sort of feedback with you. You should be keeping, maybe have a journal, questionnaires. And it's easy to get hung up on, oh, but today, I achieved this, so I'm going to push myself for the next day. Just do what you've been given to do. If it's 15 repetitions of this or stretching this for 30 seconds, just gradually increase it step by step by step. Okay, if you're trying to make a big step sometimes, just a little bit too much and you break something, okay? Something basically fails and you step back, all right? Now, I'm not going to lie to you. Setbacks do happen, and this is part of the treatment plan as well. And it's how you deal with setbacks, which is very, very important, because I know myself, when I hurt myself again, it's very easy to throw in the towel, right? Because I had the chance to go for surgery, right? I could have gone for surgery the following week. I was in the USA working at the time, and it'd been very easy. But I trusted in the program, I trusted in myself, my knowledge, I trusted in the people that I was working with to get back there. And again, I'm not going to lie, there will be good days and bad days, okay? But try not to measure your progress daily. Try to look at it week upon week, month upon month, 2 weeks upon 2 weeks, yeah? And if you're measuring it, you're journaling, you're keeping pain questionnaires, you're observing what activities you can do now that you couldn't do before, it's going to give you that mental boost, yeah? Because it's very easy, if you have a few bad days, self-doubt starts to creep in, you start feeling hopeless, depression can come in, you get stressed. Stress can also affect pain. Okay, you feel it more as a stress physiology response. It's not a good place to be in. So, setbacks, learn to embrace it. Okay, I've done too much today. Or, perhaps you just slept wrong. Perhaps it was a bad night's sleep. Perhaps you didn't drink enough water the day before, a little bit dehydrated. There's many factors, multifactorial, where you can be having a bad day. So don't lose, don't go off the path, as we say, okay? Try to stay on that path, look at the bigger picture. And of course that requires, setting of goals, which again should be taken care of by your chosen physiotherapy route, all right? So listen, I'm sure you're saying, Colin, okay, I understand, right, what's necessary to do and what I should have in place, but how long? How long is it going to take for me to recover from this herniated disc, bulging disc, okay? Okay, so from my own personal experience, from working with hundreds of people over many, many years with back rehabilitation, herniated disc, sciatica, etc., and from the literature, typically, if you've got everything in place, you get your rehabilitation type program, you've got your behavioral factors taken care of, your health factors taken care of, most people, okay, will see a significant reduction in pain within the first 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, that's normal, yeah? They should be able to slowly return to their sort of normal, former activities, 4 to 6 weeks after that, okay? And that does include, some types of sport as well. Most people from herniated disc, bulging discs, are very often able to return to their sport, okay, their full active sport, in 4 to 6 months, yeah? Now, let me break this down just a little bit for you as well. What they have found is you may be fully recovered in that you can go and do X, Y, and Z, okay? But physiologically, the disc itself may take longer to actually reabsorb and heal and scar over. Okay, that can take 4 months, 6 months, maybe a year, a little bit longer. However, during that time, you have no pain, you feel fine, you can do all your activities. But you have to be aware during that time not to do anything crazy, right? Don't be, crazy weights on your shoulders, bending over, flexing your spine, doing something which will potentially cause another herniation, okay? So you can do all your normal sporting activities, learn to be strong, you've got your mobility routine, you're doing your stretching, you're keeping everything in good shape, but understand that yes, you have full recovery, 2 months, 3 months, But the disc itself reabsorbing, sort of behind the scenes, if you will, may take a little bit longer, okay? But there are things that you can do to increase it, okay? Decompression stretches, and of course, keeping your program going, keeping yourself strong, etc., and those behavior modification techniques you do in daily life, okay? So, guys, listen, I hope that was useful. I hope it gives you a bit of hope, some optimism. If something wasn't clear, you want to ask me some questions, hit me up in the comments, whatever, please hit me up in the comment section down below, okay? So, guys, listen, thanks for watching. Please like and share, and I'll see you all next week. Have a great day.